Good evening. We're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Greg Adams. I'm the current president of the Little Rock School Board, and on behalf of all my fellow school board members, several of which are with us here tonight and in the school district, we want to welcome you to this community meeting and really appreciate that you came out to talk and to listen and to be engaged in this process as we try to make some really thoughtful and careful decisions for our district for near and the far future. So a few words of explanation that I think that y'all deserve since you came out about why we're here before Mr. Poore will come up and our superintendent and make a few comments, and then we'll get right down to business with your comments. So we are at a place in the district where the board earlier in the past year voted to support in principle an idea of right-sizing the district. So in principle, we would support that, and then the administration has done its homework to bring us some detailed ways to do that. And now it's our job to look at those details and to see if those things make sense and that we would support them. And so there's a variety of proposals. Some of you are here tonight because you're concerned about one. Some of you may be concerned about all of them or several of them. And along with listening to and learning what the administration has come up with, we also want to hear from the community, because our job is to do that, is to listen, take all the different things into account to make the best decision that we can. We'll be discussing this later this week at our agenda meeting on Thursday, and then we will potentially take action on all the different proposals about the facilities and the right sizing on February 24th on our regular business meeting. There's really, when I think about this, there's three different things that have brought us to this moment. One is, it's always the first, of course, is that we're concerned about student learning, so teaching and learning. And one of the things that we believe and that we've seen and what the district has committed itself to is that we do better, and we do better with teaching and learning when we have professional learning communities, where we can have several teachers in one grade who get together and collaborate and brainstorm and group and figure out how we're doing with the particular students and how we can strategize for the students who need particular help. And that's one of the ways that we do better. And so that means that we do better in that kind of a model if we have a school that's large enough to support that, to have several teachers in a grade so they can do that kind of collaboration and teamwork. Not all our schools are like that, and so that takes us to a place of figuring out what to do with that. And we recognize that for small schools, or smaller schools anyway, there's a great deal of comfort for students, staff, and families, because you know people, and yet it does bring challenges on the teaching and the learning part. Another thing that's connected, besides the teaching and the learning priority, is the concern we just have for population. And we know that most of our schools are older, and they have been built in where what used to be Little Rock, but now Little Rock has grown. And so most of our schools are not evenly distributed around the city. Most of our growth in recent years have happened in the southwest, where we're at right now, and in the west, but most of our schools are not there. And at the top of our enrollment several years ago, we had about 26,000 students, and now we're around 21,000 students. So that's a very significant decrease, and we hope to be able to turn those numbers around. But in the meantime, what do we do when we have schools that supported 26,000 students, but now we only have in the ballpark of 21,000 students? So that's a real question for how we can do that. It's not easy. It's easy to move people around in some ways, much easier anyway than it is to move buildings. We can't move buildings. And the third thing is we know that the community has elected us to be good stewards of our resources. And so we want to get the most bang for the buck out of our money so that we can do the best job we can for our students. And so we're thinking about that because we want to be able to provide our students and our teachers and all the other staff all the tools that they need. And we also want to be able to pay our teachers and all the other staff in the district a very competitive wage, because we want to be able to attract and keep the very best people that we can. And we made a big step with that this year because of some of the good stewardship of resources that have happened in several years, but we're not done, and we would know that we're going to need to go farther. And so we're trying to balance both effectiveness in learning and also efficiency in how we handle our resources. So tonight, what we're going to do is give you, part of our community, we're going to give you a really deep and important listening. And our job tonight is to not answer back and forth. This is not a question and answer night tonight. This is a listening night for the board. And so we're not going to answer back to you tonight. We're going to listen to try to understand the concerns that you would have about any of the proposals that we have. And take all that information and consider all the different things that we've heard already in our community meetings, and we've heard from the administration, that we've heard from stakeholders and community people who've already been calling us and emailing us. And then take all that with the information that we'll hear between now and a couple weeks from now to make the best decision that we can. Now, I should say this. We're going to listen really hard, but that doesn't mean that we will come down to in the same place where your concerns may be. Partially because the concerns of the people in this room are probably different. And so there's no way to be able to agree with everybody, right? And we even know among our board members that we do a really big listening on our board meetings and listen to the same information, and we come to different conclusions sometimes. Because that's our job, is to make the best judgment that we can. So no matter what happens, and I don't know what will happen in a few weeks, but no matter what happens, even if it's not what you advocated for, it's not because you weren't listened to. It's just that all the stuff, we're going to make the best decision that we know how to make. This is not an easy thing for boards to do, but we ran for that. We welcome this. We welcome your input, because this is what local control means, local government means. And we know that some folks, whatever we do, some people say, oh, they kind of blinked and they didn't do it, and they should have done it. And other people are going to say, oh, they didn't pay attention to the concerns. And that'll happen no matter what we do. But we're going to make the very best decision we can for students and for our community and for our schools. So thank you for coming. This will not be the only time you have a chance to talk. You will have a chance to talk at our meeting on the 24th if you want to. And then, of course, you can communicate with us on our website and also email us directly or as a group. When we talk tonight, we're going to take your sign up, and everybody's going to get 3 minutes who signed up. And after that 3 minutes, we're going to go to the next person. And we'll ask you to speak tonight only on the issues around right sizing. So if you have a real strong opinion about other things like COVID precautions, that's not the topic for tonight. It is only on the right sizing topic. And so after your 3 minutes, we'll go to the next person. So thank you. Go to the next person, and thank you. And we'll continue on until we are finished with everybody who wants to talk. And we will sit and listen and really pay close attention and hear you out. So thank you for coming. I'm going to turn to Mr. Poore. He'll say a few more words. And then we will get to what we really want to do, which is hear what you have to say to us.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you again for being here tonight. I want to thank Mr. Burton, who's over in the corner, and wave Mr. Burton. We appreciate him hosting us tonight, and for many of you, this might be the first time you've got to come into Southwest High. I can remember, it was about really only 2.5 years ago, there were people that still didn't think this high school was even going to be built, okay, that we weren't going to create that investment, but we have, and the other thing is we're in the process right now of working on the new school in Southwest for a K-8 that will replace where the old McClellan's at. So tonight, just a couple logistic things that are really important. Of course, restrooms, okay? If you go out this door, you're going to end up right near a female restroom. On that side is where the male restroom is. So easy place for if anybody needs to leave. Other thing, we'd ask you to silence your phones if you don't mind. We know you're going to be texting and capturing things, but just so that the phone doesn't ring, that'd be good, so we don't have distraction. We have someone here today to help us with interpretation for Spanish speakers. So if you're a Spanish speaker, we have the system set up so that interpretation can happen simultaneous, and that through earphones that you'll be able to hear. So if you are a Spanish speaker and have not got help or support yet, would you mind raising your hand just so we can make sure we reach out? I think we may have that covered. I know we have a couple families in the back. Okay, I'm sorry I can't see that. And Ms. Varela, are you on top of that? We're on top of it. Okay, thank you. Next is that, the process, I just want to make sure everybody gets just these opportunities. First off, there have been 3 forums specific to different segments of the proposal. So initially was a meeting on Booker Carver. Second was a meeting that dealt with Meadowcliff and Baseline. And the third meeting was really about Western Hills and pre-K. So all those meetings have been captured on video, so you can go back into the website and look at every one of those meetings in detail. There's question and answer. There also are question and answer documents that are continuing to evolve, and we'll add to that again tonight with questions that maybe we haven't heard to add into that question and answer thing. So there's tools that are available on our website, such as previous meetings, such as Q&A, and then there's documents that are information, data points that the district has created to help share where we're at in terms of like general information. So there's a really, one of the most impressive documents that you can look at is on a legal size document, and it's called the working facility document, and it allows anybody to go look at what the student populations are at every single campus, what the capacity is at each of those campuses, what the condition of the facility is, how much we spend per student at each of those campuses, just to give some detail that's on that document. So those documents are there for you. There's also then tools. Mr. Adams made mention of it. There's a QR code that you can look over when you're on the video, or a QR code that's on our website, and that allows you to have access to either create a general statement that you want the board to read. They'll have that. Second is there's kind of a brainstorming tool that allows you to say, here's the plus of this idea, here's the minus of it, here's kind of some interesting ideas about this idea, and here's some things that maybe, if this idea is going to happen, here's a way you could enhance it or maybe make it work better for people. So that tool is available for you, and our board members are paying attention not only to the feedback that's coming in, but then they're also watching these type of events or the previous 3 events. Either they're watching from home like people are right now, or as on display here, there are board members here to hear the comments in person. So all this is being captured for that board. On Thursday, as Mr. Adams said, the board will get the chance just to talk about, and I'm sure some of the questions that you're going to bring up will really spark in their head things that they're going to want to follow up with us as an administration. So with that, I'm going to turn this back over to Mr. Adams. We really appreciate everybody being here tonight, and I look forward to hearing some of your comments. Mr. Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Poore. So when we get started, did it turn out to be Ms. Nolan? Or? Okay, thank you. So Ms. Allie Nolan and Ms. Norman Johnson, Ms. Vicki Hatter are fellow board members here, or other board members who may not be able to make it here tonight are going to be paying close attention to this too. So we appreciate everybody who's able to be here. But when it comes time, and when it comes time for your 3 minutes, if you're not quite done, then Ms. Nolan will indicate to you that your 3 minutes are up, and we'll ask you to finish your sentence and then allow us to go to the next person. So looking at the sign-in sheet, and the first person that we have, I think, is Ms. Cheryl Carson. No, you're not. Okay, your thing just went over. Then I believe the first person is State Senator Joyce Elliott, and we're really pleased to have you here, Senator Elliott.
Good evening, and thank you for being here, and thank everybody for showing up this evening. I am here because I want to ask of you one more time to not do what we always do, and that is require the already burdened to bear most of the burden once again. It's about you, Little Rock School District, and those who are asked to sacrifice nothing nor to be inconvenienced as the Little Rock School District decides we have to right size, which I find is a very interesting word to start with, because I'm not sure what's right about this sizing where we always ask the same people to bear the burden and to be inconvenienced. And what that means is that we are finishing up, it seems, what the state decided to do when it took over our school district. We closed schools then. We all went to the hearings. We all had said our piece. And I don't remember even people disagreeing, except for the folks who decided they were going to close the schools anyway. And here we are again, as we right size, asking the people south of 630, mainly in black and brown neighborhoods, to bear the brunt once again. And I ask Little Rock, will the people of Little Rock ever have the empathy or the imagination to at least explore solutions other than packing and closing our schools in black and Latinx neighborhoods while school life carries on as usual or better for the rest of the city? Will that ever change? Deliberate long-term housing policies and class are the two things that give privilege to the privileged, and the two things that will make it sound oh so good when we say, well, we can't close any schools or make any changes where most of the population is. Well, if that's going to be our rationale, we're always going to do what we're doing because we know that the policies are in place to keep things the way they are. If the school board doesn't have the nerve to at least explore doing something different, it's never going to change. I was never a person who thought this building was not going to be built. I always knew that it would, because we have to pack all these black and brown kids into an area of this city, so it's necessary to have a very large school, the way we're going to do when we build another very large school. I voted for the millage this time around with a very heavy heart, thinking maybe at some point we will see things differently, and we were all asked to vote for it. And yet, this is what happened to us when we did.
Senator Elliott, that's your 3 minutes. I hate to cut you off, but
that's okay, because I will let you know that my comments are on Facebook and Twitter, and you can read them. I will end with this then. We can't go back and change the beginning, but we can start where we are and change the ending. And that is what I'm asking you to do. I am asking the people of the city of Little Rock to demand of and support our board and looking at doing something different and share the burden, because there are streets and highways and roads that come on both sides of 630. We just need to be imaginative. I'm not trying to hurt anybody. It's just that it's just wrong to keep hurting the same people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Elliott. Pamela Bright? Bingham, oh, sorry. Thank you.
Okay, I want to say thank you to the board for having us here to speak on behalf of the right sizing. My concern is I want you all to just take the time to listen to the parents in the community. By closing baseline 2 years early and transferring those students to other schools in the area, Wakefield, Watson, Chico, you're leaving a hole in our community. And I know you talked about you will provide, some of the questions the parents asked was about transportation. and you all will provide transportation. But what about the parents that walk their children to the school? What if their child gets sick? So who's going to provide them transportation to pick up their children? So this is a neighborhood school. People utilize it. They walk to the schools. And so I just want you to think about when we're talking about closing the school 2 years early, just leaving the school there. Why should the children have to pick up and move twice? Why not just let it be one time? Thank you.
Thank you. Pam Noble.
Yes, I trust in neighborhood schools, have always believed in neighborhood schools. And moving the children from school and splitting them up from their friends, that's going to be a big adjustment. They'll move and then they'll move again in 2 years. If it's 2 years, it could possibly be longer depending on construction and cost. Also, the cost. What's the cost that we're seeing, which I will look on the site, as to leaving the kids in the school for the 2 years, as opposed to moving them, transporting them to and from each day, and the expense of moving everything that's going to be moved with them, their supplies, their teachers, etc. And some of the kids in prior studies, children that have moved and relocated to other schools for a period of time of 2 years or better, a lot of them do not return to the area of their school because they've made friends, excuse me, they're older, and they just don't want to move back. So you have to look at that point of view as well, and the hardship on the parents, as Ms. Bingham stated. That's something else to face. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Henry.
All right, good evening. I will be outlining some reasons I believe you should vote to not close Booker at this point. While the word being bandied about is right-sizing, that's just a less aggressive way of saying closing schools. So let's be real about what the administration is proposing and the fact that it's no small thing and this will rock communities. First, in the community meeting online about combining Baseline and Meadowcliff, it was pointed out that all of those students at those schools would have the option to go to a magnet program if they so chose. And so isn't it reasonable to think that Booker might get to the proposed magic number of 300, which is only 50 some odd away, if some of those families chose to come to Booker? Secondly, if we know that money is one of the main reasons this is all being proposed, I do believe in being fiscally responsible, by the way. I don't like waste of any kind, but the LRSD has just received $203.5 million. And Mr. Wood said on the January 27th board meeting, this is a quote, "I can't imagine there is anything that we would withhold. We are in blessed times. We have never had so much extra cash sitting, waiting in us to invest in learning." End quote. So again, I'm not proposing being wasteful, but I also want to point out that the proposal that we have to do this to save money at the same time that we're gleefully talking about sitting on piles of cash might not be genuine. Thirdly, the only specific reason that I've heard put forth as to why proposal has switched from Carver to Booker in the past to Booker to Carver now is the age of the buildings. Let me just say, age isn't everything, right? I'm older. Some of us are all older. But Central was built in 1927, 46 years before Booker. And we're not talking about closing Central. I'm a proud graduate of Central. Age is not everything, okay? Lastly, if you do choose to combine the schools, and I think that Booker campus is much better suited for the combination STEAM school that is proposed, there's just no way that I can see, and I don't know everything, I'm not omniscient, but I don't see any way that we can do the arts in the same way at that campus that we do them now. I think also we can offer all the space to do the cool things that they're doing at Carver, so theoretically we could have it all. Nice idea. About the Carver campus, Mr. Poore has said, we've might have to make some adjustments or make some accommodations, but I've not heard a specific point or clarity about what those things are. Sorry, oh geez, that's a timer. Okay, thank you for your time, I guess.
Thank you. Jenny Porter.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here to speak in support of friends and neighbors that would be impacted by the decision to eliminate pre-K, specifically at Jefferson Elementary. Fortunately, my only child, now a kindergartner at Jefferson, had a positive experience of attending pre-K at Jefferson. During a time of such confusion and angst around sending kids to school, Jefferson was a true safe space for my son. He thrived, he made great friends, and has had a seamless transition into kindergarten, where he's also thriving. A huge relief considering he's one of the youngest kids in his class, and I want other families to have the same opportunity across the city, not just at Jefferson, at all pre-Ks across Little Rock. I've seen the numbers, I've heard the claims about the need for more space, and frankly, a whole lot of it just doesn't add up for me right now. I feel like we need a lot more information and a lot more data to make decisions like this. Closing schools, I'm just never okay with, without true data, which we just haven't seen. This is a decision not only for Jefferson, but for the other proposed closures. It feels rushed. Quite honestly, it feels unfair when compared to other LRSD pre-K programs. I just politely ask that this is studied in further detail with more input from the community. As a parent, a professional that works in the education system across Arkansas, and an advocate for universal pre-K, I will always have concerns about limiting access to pre-K for anyone. I hope to see the board make the right decision for the students and not the bottom line. Thank you.
Thank you. Jen Holman.
Hi, thank you for being here. Thank you for missing the Razorback game for us. Sorry. So I wrote some things that are on my phone, so I hope that's okay. This isn't the first time you've heard from me on this topic, and I know we approach the date you may take a vote on eliminating the pre-K program at Jefferson. Again, I urge you not to. Again, I say eliminating this successful program is akin to fixing something that isn't broken. All three of our children went through the pre-K program at Jefferson. They're in 8th, 4th, and 2nd grades now. But I'm here today for the neighborhood kids who won't get a chance to attend the exceptional program if this proposal passes. Excuse me. You've heard our great points that on-site pre-K is a benefit to families. You've heard my argument that pre-K at Jefferson is both a draw to people to enroll their children in public schools and a reason to stay there. You've heard that our own children are better students and we're better prepared for elementary and middle school because of pre-K at Jefferson. And you've heard our arguments that if so many overflow students weren't sent there, there would be plenty of room for those who live in zone. I'm not sure why Jefferson and Carver and Stevens and Terry's pre-K programs are on the chopping block while others aren't. Maybe we can use our time and resources to figure that out instead of shutting down a successful and popular educational program. Thank you.
Thank you. Zora Madison. No? Okay. Thank you. Whitney Moore.
Good evening. My name is Whitney Moore. I'm an LRSD parent residing in the Jefferson Zone. I want to thank Superintendent Poore and all of the board members for tolerating my many emails since the proposal to remove Jefferson's pre-K program was announced in November, particularly Mr. Adams, Ms. Nolan, and Mr. Poore. I appreciate your responses and your engagement. I won't repeat my individual reasons for wanting Jefferson's pre-K program to stay. Instead, I'll just say that I've been in touch with about 50 individuals and families residing in Jefferson who value having the pre-K program on site. I also want to be clear that I believe Fair Park has a great program. But tonight, I'm here simply to ask you, really to beg you, to consider any other alternative that would meet both objectives of leaving pre-K on site at Jefferson while allowing space for an additional fourth grade class next year so that this proposal can be studied further before a permanent change is made. Ms. Nolan was kind enough to explain staffing efficiencies to me and how sometimes it is necessary to bring in out-of-zone students to finish filling out a class. For example, if Jefferson has 10 kindergartners and the class can accommodate 20, adding 5 kindergartners from Fulbright and 5 from Pulaski Heights would result in a full class at Jefferson rather than 3 less than full classes at each school. This makes total sense to me, and I understand that the administration and this board are both trying to properly manage district funds and staff. However, Jefferson's enrollment increase over the last few years has likely been fueled by these small additions of students who come for kindergarten and stay and matriculate up through 5th grade. For the 21-22 school year, my understanding from district data is that there are 75 kindergarten students at Jefferson, 50 of whom reside in the zone. If my math is right, that means that 10 out-of-zone students were needed to finish making Jefferson's 3rd kindergarten class, and an additional 15 kindergartners who do not reside in the zone were also assigned to Jefferson. To be clear, I'm not suggesting current out-of-zone students should be reassigned to their home attendance zones, but I do think these numbers are worth looking at when considering plans to address Jefferson's growth. I previously asked if one pre-K class could remain, which would create room for a 3rd, 4th grade class without addressing out-of-zone students. If leaving one pre-K class isn't feasible, then alternatively, for next year, I would respectfully ask if it would be possible to assign some out-of-zone students, once the 3rd kindergarten class is filled, to another elementary school. Eliminating the 4th kindergarten class would allow for a 3rd, 4th grade class without removing pre-K and would give the district more time to study the recent increases in enrollment at Jefferson and perhaps work on a longer-term solution. While I'm not as familiar with the pre-K programs at Carver, Stevens, and Terry, if at all possible, I would respectfully request that the same considerations are given to their programs. I believe that on-site pre-K is both beneficial to children who will continue to K-5 at the school and a great asset to the communities in which these schools sit. And also, this building is great. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Moore.
Thank you. Christy Hughes.
Hi there. My name is Christy Hughes, and I'm a Jefferson parent of 2 girls who are in kindergarten and 2nd grade. I'm also this year's Jefferson Elementary PTA president. I would like to start by asking us to take a pause. Make important decisions in regards to moving PK program from Jefferson Elementary, a program that has been around for more than 20 years. Please allow time to get a full, accurate picture of what is going on, not only at our school, but in all of Little Rock School District. It has been a tough couple of years for everyone because of COVID. Let's not base this decision on these last couple of years. By removing the Jefferson pre-K program, we would only provide a temporary fix to what I see as much bigger issues: state funding, declining enrollment, and space inefficiencies. These 3 issues lead to the major player in the reasoning behind removing these pre-K programs: student overflow. The topic of Jefferson and acceptance of overflow students, as Whitney has addressed already, seems to leave more questions than there are answers. Why, when Jefferson is running out of space and needs to add classes, are we accepting overflow students? What other schools are accepting overflow students? Would it be more beneficial to place overflow students into schools that have declining enrollment and that seem to have the space and the staff? These are all questions that if we had time, I believe we could address, get answers, and come up with a productive solution. If that solution is to move pre-K out of Jefferson, I support it. However, at this time, there's not enough accurate evidence to support it. In my opinion, removing this program would actually do more harm than it would good. My children have both gone through their program, and in fact, that's the reason why we moved into the neighborhood. Families are moving in literally overnight into our community, and the number one reason for most of these families is to be able to send their kid to Jefferson Elementary. My husband and I are general contractors, and so we see firsthand some of the sacrifices these families are making just to be in this school district. By removing the pre-K program so abruptly, you will, for a fact, lose valuable families to private schools. You will not just lose them for pre-K, but you will lose them for the remainder of their educational career. I know this is not the direction we want to head, as this continues to add to our fundamental struggles: funding, enrollment, and space. These last 2 years have been extremely difficult for LRSD and for our schools and administrators, having to make decisions they would never have to make before. I believe that we have weathered this COVID storm and we will come out on the other side better. More flexible, more understanding, and hopefully more respectful of each other as members of the same community, LRSD. So I ask in all earnestness that you please reject the proposal for removing pre-K programs from Jefferson Elementary and the other elementary schools for the 2022-23 school year. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Carol Young.
As you guys know, I'm a owner of a minority business here in town, and I'm here to speak on behalf of Western Hills Elementary. I attend St. Andrew's Church here in Little Rock, and am the head of a missions with Western Hills Elementary. We have previously had a very close relationship with Wilson School, which was unfortunately closed down. The mission situation is very deep in my church. Is this turned on? We're good? Okay. Before St. Andrew's Little Rock chose its location, it was prayed over, and it was decided specifically to go into the John Barrow community because we wanted to be able to work closely with the John Barrow community, which is the reason we prayed over and decided to go into Wilson Elementary. And this is not a small mission, as Ms. Smith will tell you. With Wilson and now with Western Hills, our budget in a non-COVID year is $30,000 to $40,000. We buy school supplies, we buy backpacks, we work with the teachers. We are working right now on a mission where, I don't know if you guys know, but under Standard 1 of the Code of Ethics for Arkansas educators, teachers have to maintain a professional relationship with students, but they can rely on churches to come in and step in when those professional relationships must be held. So, for example, if a teacher realizes a student needs shoes, or if a teacher realizes a student needs prayers for their parent who's in prison, or if a teacher realizes that a student doesn't have a coat, then my church steps in and takes care of those things. And part of the reason we can do that is because of this small community. We're in the John Barrow community. This school is in the John Barrow community. We hold hands together and work together in a true partnership. Our church will not have an elementary school in John Barrow if Western Hills is gone. We don't have a school in Western End if Western Hills is gone. We're forced to go somewhere where it's no longer a community feel. So we feel very strongly that it's important that you maintain the community so that our church, and we're working hand in hand with other churches, can maintain these sponsorships and relationships. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Takira Robinson. No? Okay. Okay, thank you. Sarah Stone.
Hello, my name is Sarah Stone, and I am a staff member at Carver. I have some questions for the board regarding the combining. One of my questions was in the email, but I don't believe it was responded to during the live meeting. If Carver remains the chosen site, will Carver employees have to reapply for their position? Vice versa? How will that be done? Is all staff going to have to reapply, or will one site have seniority over the other, so to speak? How will the district support staff and students with these changes? Is an extended day being considered to allow for all of the specialty classes? I know that we have many at Carver as well as the other site has many. And if the extended day is being considered, will compensation be increased for all staff that is involved in that? Will there be a pre-K center as a feeder school for our new Carver and Booker combining? Currently, we have many families who have siblings or plan to enroll their students in our pre-K in the future. What plans are or will be in place for the enrollment opportunities for the new Booker and Carver site? I understand it's a magnet, but by removing our pre-K, a lot of our enrollment is cut off as well. Please have firm plans in place, such as a feeder program or something else, to continue our enrollment, or I fear that we'll be back here again in the future trying to decide what our future is again. And additionally, we currently have 2 alternate classrooms, and my understanding is Booker also has 2. Where will those classrooms go? What are the plans for those classrooms? Thank you.
Thank you. Stephanie Fields. No? Okay. All right. Christopher Johnson.
Hello, I'm speaking on behalf of Meadowcliff, and I'm a parent at Meadowcliff. My kids have been in Meadowcliff, I don't know, 6 years, 5, 6 years, and that's kind of the school that I've adopted as mine. And like a lot of parents and a lot of people in here, their school is theirs. And I guess as a parent and as a progressive person, I understand that new schools they're necessary, but there's also 9, 10 schools that are under that magic 300 mark. So why do you have to take our schools? So, and judging, going from some of the literature that y'all have given us, that we can save $500,000, $600,000. But over the scheme of things, over the overall school district budget, it's just a drop in the bucket that y'all actually saving. So y'all are not really saving that much by closing those schools. So you can say that, okay, it's about the bottom line, but how significant is it for the bottom line? Not really that significant. So we're our understanding that we need new schools, and we embrace the K-8 school that's coming along in our neighborhood. But we just want the same courtesy as a lot of the people who are at Hall and Jay Fair and McClellan that heads up said, okay, we're gonna close your school, but we're gonna give you a brand new school, but we're gonna let you stay at your school until that brand new school is open. So we just want that courtesy. Let us stay at our school. Don't move our kids all around the place. And just let them stay there. For 2 years, how much money are you really saving for that 2 years? Not very much. And at the same, as a homeowner in that area, I don't want a school just sitting in the middle of my neighborhood, just sitting there. And a lot of people as for me, I'll be more likely to embrace y'all change if y'all had like actual plans for stuff. So you say that we're gonna move your kids. Where you gonna move them to? We're gonna move them to Stevens. We're gonna move them to here. We're gonna move them to there. You've given us 3 or 4 different options of where you're gonna move our kids. But as a school district, y'all do what you want to do. So it's a possibility that my school, my kid that's in Meadowcliff can be sent way over to Terry, way over to somewhere, way across town, where I have no control about where they're being assigned because they're closing the school. So, me personally, I don't think it's a good idea. It's a lot of special needs kids in some of the schools that you're closing. Well, these special needs kids have established a relationship with their teachers and the staff of that school. That's going to be detrimental to them when you have to move them to one school and they have to readjust, and they don't have the they don't know. That's 3 minutes. Oh, okay.
That's 3 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, well, I'm almost done. A lot of special needs kids are at these schools, and they have established a relationship with the teachers and staff, and that's just going to uproot their world. Like me personally, I'm not worried about my kids because I know for a fact that I'm going to be over what my kids learn and how they adapt to the situation, but everybody's not in our situation. So just leave Meadowcliff open. Leave it alone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Amanda Story.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to be here, Mr. Poore, members of the board. I truly appreciate and I'm grateful for all of the time and dedication you've given to our students, to our district, especially during the last 2 unprecedented years. I've been proud to be part of the Little Rock School District, and I'm grateful. We have a first grader at Jefferson. We've had a great experience, as I know many families have. We have a 3-year-old who we hope to be able to attend pre-K at Jefferson. And for us, you know, when I first saw this was part of the right-sizing plan, I wasn't immediately alarmed. I've heard, and this isn't for me, about Forest Heights. I think it's a great program. For me, I wanted to understand more about how this decision was made, and I just wanted a comfort level that it's a data-driven decision, and wanted to, again, really understand, you know, what went into making it. And I think that, you know, obviously have been more invested in the Jefferson proposal, but I think it applies to the others as well, and the pre-Ks at the other schools. It's just, you know, the parents want a comfort level, you know, that every other avenue has been exhausted. I don't pretend to understand everything that goes into the decisions that you all have to make. They're all hard ones. I know you don't get to make them in a vacuum looking at individual schools. You have to take the whole district into consideration. I truly appreciate that. I just urge you to slow down and perhaps explore other options for not just Jefferson's proposal, but the other ones as well. But again, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you. Deborah Washington.
If this were a decision regarding high schools and consolidating high schools, that would be a different issue. By that point, students have matured to the point that they could ride city buses and get from school to school. We're talking about 4 to 12-year-olds who need a neighborhood and a community. The word community has been used multiple times. They need that community to learn to live in our society. They need to be able to walk with their parents to school if that's how their parents choose to send them to school, or ride their bikes. They do not need to be spending 2 hours a day on a school bus going across town in order to fill up empty spaces in a school. This building is beautiful. It's lovely, but it is a high school. Smaller elementary schools situated in high-density areas of need is a more forward-looking process than closing schools in those same high-density areas of need. If you were to add charter schools, allowing students to attend charter schools and requiring that those charter schools maintain academic excellence, the students from ages 4 to 12 need the greatest opportunity to learn. By the time they've reached 12, they've basically established their learning habits for life. But right now you're talking about an upheaval of a family structure in the most tender years of their lives. So if you were to increase smaller schools in areas of high density, that would be a better option than closing the ones that you already have. The nice, pretty, shiny buildings are nice, but from the years of having one-room schoolhouses, the other guy who spoke earlier, old is not necessarily worse. Central High School has been renovated, and it's still considered a school of excellence. You could take a school in a retail setting and make sure it's safe and still teach those children. So I'm against closing neighborhood schools. The children in this age group need the neighborhood, the community around them to be able to learn and mature and grow. Thank you.
Thank you. Deborah Ramsey.
Good evening. My name's Deborah Ramsey, and I'm one of the drama specialists at Booker Arts Magnet, a place that has been my joy to work at for many years. I'm actually the person who developed the drama program through the vision of my principal, Dr. Cheryl Carson, and was asked, I had worked professionally in theater at the Milwaukee Repertory Theater and the Arkansas Art Center Children's Theater, and was asked by a parent if I would consider coming and developing the program. And then that parent worked with Dr. Carson to eventually bring me to Booker. Booker has been a life's passion for me. When I arrived there, I pushed a cart for 2 years. I had no room. I had nothing in the gym. There was no beautiful facility like we have now. And through the Little Rock School District believing in us and investing in us, and believe me, there was an incredibly huge expenditure of money because I was on the planning team, and I helped create the beautiful, elegant theater system that is in our gym. I worked with the people at Stageworks and actually designed the system that is in the gym, which I believe the board will be coming to see this coming, or at least some members of the board will be coming to see this Friday. It would break my heart to see that facility go to waste. One of the biggest joys of my life has been to watch the children go from having very little to perform with to now I've built year after year after year, and now they have this, they feel such pride as they put on the gorgeous costumes and walk into what is basically professional lighting and curtains And they are so, they have body microphones. They think they're so special when they put their body microphones on. And they walk out and the confidence builds and they can speak so beautifully. And I would hate to lose that facility, is what I'm saying to you, because it brings, and that's what I wanted to talk to you about, and I'm so glad that you're going to be able to come and see it. I would hate for it to go to waste. If you close Booker and move us into Carver, I'm sure is a lovely place, and I understand that money needs to be saved, but I beg you to really take a really good look at not only what the drama program has, but all the other fine arts programs. I'm proud to be a collaborative team member with all my other fine arts people. It's the strongest team I've ever worked with in all these years, and they are awesome. And I just really would not like to lose that. So please come in with an open mind. And although we have an old building, just because something is a little damaged doesn't mean it's ruined. Please come and see what we have to offer.
Thank you. Stephen Mann.
Good evening. I'm Stephen Mann, President of Medicliffe Brookwood Ponderosa Neighborhood Association. My daughter went to Medicliffe Elementary her first 4 years of school. It was a great school, it still is, been there since 1965. Y'all recently, about 3 years ago, did some renovation on the roofing and stuff there. It is absolutely a great school. There's no reason to close it down. I got neighbors that have children that walk to school there. They get just as well educated no matter where you would send them to, because they have a great teaching staff there. I just don't see no reason for closing something up while y'all waiting to condense everybody in and then transfer them over to another school and keep them totally confused in transition of going from one to the other to the other. It is, like I said, it is a great school. It's been there for a long time, but it's still a wonderful school. I thank you for your time and patience.
Thank you. Amy Hallam.
Hi, good evening. My name is Amy Hallam. I'm a lifelong resident of Little Rock. My husband and I are both products of the Little Rock School District, as well as staff members. I'm a staff member at Booker. Our daughter is a graduate, and our son is a current student in the Little Rock School District. To say that I have a vested interest in the success of this district is a gross understatement. I will agree that the merging of the Booker and Carver campuses has been a topic of discussion for several years. I also agree that fiscal considerations should always be a high priority in order to be good managers of taxpayer dollars. However, dropping the idea for school closings and mergers in a surprise presentation in November without any notice to staff, students, parents, or the public is problematic. I have yet to hear satisfactory answers beyond hopeful ideas as to what you want to accomplish at the combined Booker-Carver STEAM school. A clear plan has not been presented to parents to show them what the programming for this new school structure will look like for their student if they choose this option for their child. How can you expect a parent to choose to send their child to this school on the hopes that this program would be something they want their child to be a part of? It has been stated that the guiding coalitions from each campus will come together to plan the program of the school. When? On our own time, off contract, in less than 2 months during the summer? Shouldn't this step have already taken place much in advance of the upcoming school year in order for staffing to be in place and rooms to be prepared for all of the offerings? Teachers are expected to prepare lesson plans according to student need. So how much more would you expect a new combined staff to need time to create a guaranteed and viable STEAM curriculum in addition to essential standards for academics? Educators are truly exceptional people who make teaching look easy to the untrained eye. That's the art of teaching. But the other side, the science of teaching, all of the decisions, the planning, the preparation, the research, that takes time. And that's what you are removing from the equation, but yet expecting it from us anyway. So are you truly invested in the success of this new STEAM option for Booker and Carver? Thank you.
Thank you. Jordan Geiser. Okay, thank you. Jason, but I'm not sure about the last name, Crater from Carson? Crater? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Crater.
Yeah, Crater's it. I really didn't realize that I'd signed up to speak. I thought it was a sign-in sheet, but
it is your choice, sir.
But no, I'll take this opportunity. I've been working for the Little Rock School District for 17 years, and for 12 of those, I've been at Carver Magnet Elementary. It's a wonderful school. I'm not going to stand up here and say, Booker versus Carver. That's not it. I guess the one thing, though, that has been bothering me since all of this has happened, and Ms. Hallam alluded to that earlier, back in November and December, we were just kind of hastily thrown together and a staff meeting was put together at the very end of the day. We had no time at all to think about this, to come up with the pluses and the minuses that were on the right-sizing document that you initially got. We had like an hour just to brainstorm. We had to put it out there, and we had no idea that this was even kind of in the cards for Booker and Carver to be merged at that point. That's the last time we've heard anything from anyone as far as district officials go. No one has come to the school to talk to us. No one has shared like any plans, like either virtually or in person with us, and that's been a big problem for me. The last 2 years have been very, very difficult. As you all know, we've all experienced COVID in different ways, but being a teacher, it's been the hardest 2 years of my life as far as teaching goes, and I love teaching. It's what I'm, here on earth to do. But, and you hear every single day, teachers are leaving because of all the stress and the anxiety and the things that they're under. And for us to not even be thought of to come out and actually speak to us about all of these things that you're doing or you're planning to do, that's just kind of just like a slap in the face. And so I didn't plan to get up here and speak about this tonight. I just came to listen, but that has something that's really bothered me as a teacher. Someone's devoted 17 years of his life to the school district. I expect to be treated in a way where if my school is going to be closed, people will actually come to me and talk to me about it, and I don't have to turn on YouTube and hear people talking about it that way. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Cornelius Jones. Mr. Jones? No? Okay.
Good evening. I echo the sentiments of everyone when I say we thank you for being here this evening. I am a bit disappointed that there's not feedback, because I thought when we came here tonight that we would ask questions and we would get feedback. We've asked a lot of questions and haven't gotten any answers. But since you're not going to answer me, I'll go ahead with my statement. I'm a parent of a scholar at Carver Magnet Elementary School, and I am proud of that fact. Carver has an excellent pre-K program, It has special services that my student takes a part in. It has an East program that's outstanding. It has a space center. And all of these things go together to make Carver the best place for my scholar and for so many other scholars. And I've heard so much about the enrollment being low. What's the big deal with that? Every time I turn around, I hear someone talking about learning loss. I hear people talking about trauma, all of these things that came about because of what we've all endured over the last couple years. So I think it's a great idea to have a smaller school right now. Because when I pull up at Carver Magnet Elementary, the principal knows me, he knows my baby. Mr. Crater knows me, he knows my baby. The teachers know me, they know my baby. I think it's a wonderful idea right now to leave Carver alone, let it have a small, intimate environment, leave Booker alone, let it have a small, intimate environment, leave all these schools alone, and let them have a small, intimate environment, especially right now. This is not the time to put kids through more trauma. It's not the time to put parents through more trauma. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Jennifer Bullock.
Hello. I am speaking here tonight as a parent of 2 elementary students in the district, as well as an educator at Meadowcliff. You know, my 2nd grader has not had a normal school year yet. My 5th grader, as she's heard me talking about this and what might happen, she actually wanted to speak here tonight because she was like, oh my gosh, Mom, if they were doing that to my school, I mean, they just could not, that is wrong. So, you know, I wanted to present their perspective as well. But as for at Meadowcliff, you know, we really are a family. It's small. We all work together. We all know each other. And we have those relationships. And the thing with our students and transitioning to a different school and then to possibly another school a couple years later, our students don't transition well. I know it was mentioned that they do, but as someone who works on the front lines with these kids every day, they don't. We've had 3 years now of disruption in our learning. They're having a hard time. They don't transition well, as I said. So even though I believe that all of the teachers at all of our schools are great, you are going to set a detriment to our students by shifting them to another school where even though those teachers may be great, they don't have those relationships with those teachers yet. So you are going to spend, some of our students, it took a year or more just to get them to want to come to school and trust us enough to put their name on the paper. But we've built those relationships. We work towards that. I don't want to see our students be shipped out to multiple schools to where then they lose another year because they've got to trust these people that they've never seen before. So, you know, I've heard the question on several of these community meetings, if not now, when? Well, in 2 years, when the new school opens. Because then you're taking all of our kids and you're telling your students, hey, you're going to be with your peers. You're just going to be in a new, nice building. We all want the new, nice building. I mean, this place is amazing. But we want our kids to go together. We want them to know that they're going to go and they're going to see familiar faces. We want them to have those relationships and be comfortable. So to that I say, you know, the only 2 pros that I've heard are about the economics and about teacher collaboration. Well, we know teachers are creative. We have vertical collaboration. We do very, very well with that, even for a small school, which vertical collaboration is even better because then you're looking at the grade level below and the grade level above, so you know where your students have been, you know where they're going. So I want to say to that, but even still, both of those, economics and teacher collaboration, those are adult issues. I've yet to hear that there is any pro for closing now and sending those students out to a school to then have to transition again in 2 years. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you. Marquita Timberson.
Hello. So my name is Marquita, and I'm a new parent at Western Hills Elementary School. And I want to actually advocate for that school and also my babies because, and excuse me if I get a little emotional, but I'm a single parent and I have 3 sons. My 3 boys are actually up there at the top. And we just went through a whole transition from Pulaski County School District. I've been a parent of Pulaski County for about 12 years, and that school has done nothing graceful for me or my babies. If anything, it's hindered us. We made this transition to Western Hills, and I don't feel like it's right to close the school. The reason why I'm saying that is because they've made such a positive impact on my babies' lives within a short period of time. And it's so hard trying to raise 3 sons on your own. But when you come from a school district that has no structure, that doesn't care about the kids' well-being or, you know, their academics, and you move to a new school environment, speaking of Little Rock School District, and academics is everything and structure is, you know, set, it makes you feel like there's hope. And I like that because my thing is I advocate for my babies, but my babies advocate for me because when I sit down and I ask them questions in our home, like, what is something that these teachers can do, you know, to benefit you? Like, what are you struggling with? And my son, Brian, you know, I just had a conversation with him, and I said, Brian, how would you feel if they closed Western Hills? He said, I would be sad. And I said, why would you be sad? My baby told me because there's structure in that environment. Our teachers discipline us, and I'm not saying physically, but they set the tone, and they make those kids, they hold them accountable for everything that they do. So my thing is, with closing the schools, are we really helping or are we hindering? Because adjusting, that's a big impact on our babies. You know, you're taking them from a small environment and you're trying to move them to a bigger school where they're just another number. So it's like, I don't think that closing a small setting and putting kids in a bigger setting is actually impactful for these babies. COVID has been in place. You've had kids that's had adjustment issues. They've been traumatized from having to go from one setting to a different setting. There's no structure in these schools, but Western Hills has done so much for me and my kids in the little time period that we've been there. I came from a place where I had everything and I left and had nothing. They offered my baby a backpack. Something very small made a big difference. Because he came from an environment which was Horizon Day treatment. He didn't have that. He was in a classroom with just a small set, you know, just a few kids. And for them to give me the opportunity after advocating to put him back in regular school where he could be, you know, with the other children, made him, my youngest son, totally different kid. They labeled my baby, saying that he wouldn't be able to function in a regular school environment, and here he is. He's learning, he's doing everything that he can, and he's happy. So why close the school down? You know, I'm new to the community, but I feel like I'm a part of the community. I'm unemployed, but I'm advocating for my children every day. So to close something down, you know, that's actually helping these kids in these environments, it's sad. So like I said, are you helping or are you hindering? Is it really about $1? A budget. If you want to do something, why not create something like a membership? Create a membership for these schools. Let them become a member, you know, $5 or something like that. And those parents become members, allow their students to become members. That right there is revenue.
Yeah. Ma'am,
so
I'm
I
sorry,
feel
your 3 minutes
oh,
have run.
okay.
I apologize. Yeah, thank you.
I didn't hear that bell. I'm too in tune, but I don't feel like it's necessary to close Western Hills because it's a very good school. And I like that it's a structured environment. So just consider that when making this decision. Think about what's really important. Is it about you all or is it about the kids?
Thank you. Tyler Barnes. Honor Robinson. I'm not sure if I got that first name correct. Robinson with Carver. No, so it's an A. A-A-N-U-R. What it looks like. Okay. Deborah Brown.
I do want to thank you for your time to be here. Just being at the table says that you do value what we have to say. I am a teacher at Baseline Academy, and my job is not to make sure my students are approaching or meeting their academic goals. That's my ultimate goal at the end of the year. My job is to be their stability. These students live lives that are harder than any of us can imagine, lives that are full of trauma and change that they have no control over. And Baseline is their safe place, a constant in their lives when so much around them changes. Deciding to move these children twice over their elementary careers will only add to the trauma and the hardships they experience. Many of our students receive support services. And I don't know if you are aware, but let me enlighten you to say, setting up support services is a lengthy process. It does not transfer easily school to school. And when you are transferring these students 2 times in 2 years, those services will be lost. Those children will be lost. Their needs will not be met. The talking point that I keep hearing is that closing the smaller schools will give teachers a chance to collaborate with other teachers. I've been at Baseline for 4 years, and believe me when I say we are collaborating. We have spent evenings and Saturdays planning and collaborating. As a first grade teacher, I can tell you what my students should have learned in kindergarten, what they need to know in 2nd grade, and what I need to do in this year to make sure they're on that track. It's almost a slap in the face to teachers to say this move will help them collaborate when we have been collaborating, because that's our job. And I know physically sound decisions need to be made, but the bottom line is the money speaks. You have to ask yourself, what is the dollar amount that will speak loud enough to say that these children are worth it? Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Diane Curry.
I'd just like to say good evening and thank you all for this opportunity for our public to come out. As a former board member, I've been a fighter since 2006 forward, even before that. And I'd just like to say that I can say that the district, I feel we have always never addressed across 630 issues dealing with our children in public schools. And that's why we're at this point right now. As president of the Little Rock branch NAACP, you've got many correspondence from us. And I think the reason why you moved to have these meetings is because we appealed, along with many groups and parents in our community that's here tonight, in evidence of what's been said. I say ditto to many of the things that's been said. We deserve an equal opportunity for all our children to learn, but when you move and don't give the opportunity for kids to have what you call an elementary school, then they can move to the middle school, and then to the high school of choice, we don't have that anymore. We had what you call a feeder pattern. Right now, do we have that? No. So I appeal as I'm a grandparent now. Of course, I listen to the teacher, the drama teacher from Booker, where my child went to elementary school. And I know the struggle that coming from that school setting, and the kids that never had the opportunity to have some of the things, opportunities for arts and technology and all of that. Every child deserved the opportunities to have all of those things offered. But closing schools in small settings does not benefit a community. it leaves gaps, and it leaves empty spots. I think about David O'Dodd, and I can mention many. David O'Dodd, Wilson Elementary, and now you want to close Western Hills. Those are all of the schools up and down on the other side of 630 that's always been hurt. And our parents and our kids have been hurt from not having the same opportunities. So we deserve better. I'll just say this. We don't understand why we want to close Western Hills and some of the other schools. I'm here in Meadowcliff, Carver, and then Booker. We just deserve better. And I'm making that appeal along with everyone tonight. We deserve better. We are taxpayers. I had a board member that I know said to me, I don't have a right to make a comment. I'm trying to micromanage the board. I don't have a right to call my board member and express my concerns. But we deserve better for this community. I hope that you all will listen and listen closely. We deserve better for our kids to have the best education possible because, as you see, we want a better world.
Ms. Curry, that's your
But
3
they
minutes.
got to be educated. Thank you so much.
That's your 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Pamela Allen.
And this is the first time I've been in the high school that I was the one recommended to buy this land, part of this land, along with Mr. Evans. First time in this high school.
Hi, I'm Pam Allen. I'm a 5th grade teacher at Meadowcliff. I've been there for 16 years now. I've been with the district for 21 years. I love our neighborhood school, but I do see a need. I realize that we're going to have a new school. What we are asking is that you put the kids first and wait until the new school is built to move them. Many of these kids have never had a normal school year. This is the 3rd year in a row that COVID has had a huge impact on these children. Let them finish out the last 2 years instead of moving them twice. It's not fair to the kids. There's a lot of arguments that I've heard in the different meetings, such as collaborating. That one was already addressed. I assure you that we collaborate a lot. We collaborate vertically. We collaborate with our team member, the other 5th grade teacher and I, we collaborate daily. That's just not a reason. We've heard that there will be, because we only have a part-time counselor at our school. But you go to a bigger school and you have 500 kids and you're going to have one counselor for all the kids. You're going to have double the kids. Many of these children their stability. They don't have stability anywhere else. They come to school for stability. They're part of our family. I've taught many sibling groups, and I've taught the older brothers and sisters of many of the kids I'm teaching now. We have been a very close family. We have a lot of relationships with our families, with our students. We have relationships with partners in education. We have churches that donate school supplies, backpacks full of supplies, so the parents don't have to buy anything. We have a lot to offer these kids, and while I do realize that the new school is being built and these kids are going to go to the new school, we're not asking you to keep us open indefinitely, but put the kids first. These kids don't deserve it, and I can't imagine that it would cost that much more money to keep these kids in the same place for 2 more years when there are high schools that have fewer students than we have. Yet it costs over double, almost triple per student expenditure on those kids, and it's okay to keep those schools open, but you want to close the smaller schools. And I've also had parents that have addressed the fact that these new schools are going to, whenever you combine us with another school, rather at the end of this year, they're going to be packed like sardines in there, and we are still going through COVID. There's going to be no room. And I mean, my classroom is pretty full. I have 26 kids. But you're talking about moving all these kids and pushing in them with these other schools, and it's going to be really crowded. Please, please let us stay open for 2 extra years. If not now, when? Whenever the new school is open.
Thank you.
Thank you. Latoya Morgan.
I want everybody to look at his sweet little face, right? Because it's real sweet. He just got out of boxing practice, right? Hold on. And his mom brought him. Use the microphone. So he's my support because my heart was beating a little fast, to be honest with you. Okay, yes, ma'am. So I was under the impression that this was going to be a question and answer section. So I had all my question and answers ready. I was ready. I was like, "Ooh, I'm ready tonight. I'm prepared." You know, because that's what teachers do. You prepare. And so I walked in, you know, like sometimes when our internet is not working, and I had to, you know what? I had to think on my toes. I had to, okay, pop back up, girl. You got to get this done today. So, but here is my question. I do have a question, so please record this in your notes. Can we have a session with schools that have merged within the district and see what the pros and cons of, okay? My other question is there a blueprint for how the projected new STEAM school is going to look if Booker and Carver merge? So planning is a large component of what educators practice on a day-to-day basis. It's February the 8th, and I'm trying to figure out why this is not a 2022-2023 meeting for the upcoming school year. Everything is up in the air, and we don't have any way of collaborating. A word that has been tossed around this room all night long. We have absolutely no clue of what is ahead of us, and we are the people responsible for making this transition for our students. So remember, I want you to look at his face one more time, because this is who I have to look at every single day. And I am intentional about what I speak into him. I am intentional about what I teach him, and I am intentional about every single one of his needs. Let me go back. Typically, when changes trickle down the line, we receive some sort of guide for what to expect. One would think that the most valuable players will be put into a game to secure a win, but we've all been benched. As the coach, I'm stepping in and I'm calling a timeout. We have to think about how these changes are going to affect our children and families. So every morning, I see pre-K babies come in our building, and I see their little kindergartner or first grade sister or brother. I gotta walk my sister to class. It's the sweetest thing. Let me hurry up. As the coach, I said that already. Let me go back. How are we going to get the buy-in of those impacted? How are we going to support the educators? How are we going to intentionally assist the students that we serve and their needs? And last but not least, when are we going to get to put in the practice, or what the teachers call it, the planning? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
And
Thank you. Cynthia Camp.
Good evening. Thank you all for having me. I am Cynthia Camp, and I'm been living in the Meadowcliff area for 31 31 years. I am in partnership with Meadowcliff Elementary School through my ministry. My ministry works with the CBI students at Meadowcliff. Also, anybody else in that is in the need of help. I am in partnership with the VIX School District. What they do for my ministry and everything, they send me only to school that's in stress. I was first partnership with Meadowcliff for 3 years. I went to Meadowcliff because they was not getting no kind of funding, when nobody not helping them. So what I did through my ministry, which is Cheyenne Ministry, I work with kids with disabilities. And what we do, we go in there, we also do backpack drafts, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. We probably be in there doing Valentine and as well as Easter. What I do, I try to reach out to the children, the CBI students, because with the CBI students, look like they left behind. And I want them to feel like they special and everything. All of the children is special, but my specialty is CBI students. Meadowcliff made me feel welcome. They embraced my ministry. They didn't never say, oh, y'all can't do it. When I say, hey, we want to do the backpack draft. They was all willing. Thanksgiving, the parents was overwhelming. Christmas, it just brought tears to my eyes when one of the teachers told me we might not be here anymore. My heart broke for them because I knew with my ministry, I want to go to all of the schools that are in stress. I didn't want to go to a school that didn't need me. I want to be felt I am needed. And they make me feel like I was at home. My main issue is tonight, what is we going to do with this building if we close it down? I've been in the community for 31 years. I own my house. What is we going to do? Is we just going to leave the building closed? These children is not going to get what they need. They need us. It's not about the money because I am a nonprofit. It's about helping these children. These children need us. They don't need us to be talking about, oh, it's $1. God would make a way for us. We just need to grace these children. They don't need us to be up in here fussing. COVID-19 is here. Yes, it is real. Do you think they want us to be arguing about, we're going to put y'all over here, we're going to put you over here, whatever? That is not important. What is important to us is that our babies is taken care of, not that mighty dollar bill, because it's not about that dollar bill. Because when I serve the community, which is Cheyenne Ministry, I'm serving everybody, not just the rich folks. It's not building this big old building. It's not about that, because my building is the building that I serve.
That's your 3 minutes,
It's that man above, and he sees everything I do. I don't ask for a penny. I come out of my pocket, and I go to these schools that's in distress, and I work.
Thank you, ma'am. That's your 3 minutes.
Sure. Thank you for having me. God bless y'all.
Thank you. B.J. Warwick.
Good evening. I am B.J. Wyrick, and I'm a city board member, represent Ward 7 out here in Southwest Little Rock. When I got involved in Southwest Little Rock and neighborhoods 25 or so years ago, 30 years ago, we had a couple of things that we really thought were our marching orders for our community. One of them was railroad overpasses. We needed 3. We've got 3. The other one is our neighborhood schools. If you look at Southwest Little Rock, and I'm sure a lot of the other neighborhoods too, the homes are built around the schools. And we felt like it was very important that you kept neighborhood schools, you kept the families together with the schools, and that was one of our driving issues for Southwest Little Rock. I was late getting here tonight because we were going over, I had a city board meeting and we were going over our agenda for next Tuesday night. there are a number of items on there for community-based programs for our kids that are in distress, our kids that need help. And as you know, the City of Little Rock has worked with the community school model. We're very concerned about what happens to kids after school. Working with that, Jay Barth, I know you're familiar with Jay Barth. So we're concerned about two things. We're concerned about the crime, but we're also concerned about these children, these young adults that are coming up and getting them involved in situations where they don't wind up as a homicide or an assault or things like that. That's what we talked about tonight. We've got a number of programs we're going to approve Tuesday night. When you look at the children, their safe place is the school. One of my colleagues was talking about our kids navigating through all sorts of extreme situations in their homes, in their community. The school is a safe place. And when you start removing neighborhood schools from our community, from our neighborhoods, then that's going to be a worse decline, I believe, on our kids that are coming up that we're trying to save so they'll graduate from school and go on to be productive and not be aggressive and assault and all those situations. So I believe we need neighborhood schools. I know one time the school district was talking about closing David O'Dodd because they didn't have enough people, enough kids in the school. We showed to him there was a new subdivision that was going to have 200 plus houses there. And they looked at that and they said, okay, we're not going to close it. Well, right now, down the street from there, there's another proposed subdivision for 515 houses. So what do you do with all those kids? I have a very large concern about our kids coming up, the schools being moved away from our communities, our neighborhoods. What happens to the schools? What happens to the neighborhoods? I see an overall decline. I don't think this is a win-win for our kids that all of us are working hard to save and to raise up. Thank you.
Thank you. That's your 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your service to the city. Angela Jones. Okay, thank you. LaShondra Robinson.
Hello, I have 2 kids that goes to Carver. I actually love that school. I love it. To pull up, to have them come and get my children, to them know which vehicle to go to is very important for them to take very special care of my kids. I love it. I love Mr. Woolley. I promise you he the best. The best. When I say the best, I mean the best. He does not play with those kids. And that's what we need, a structure, a leader. And I just love Carver. And if you're going to merge them together, please keep him. Please. And Mr. Crater, I love him too. When I say he cares for our kids, that's important for teachers to care for our children. And it's also important for not just for them to tackle on our kids, it's for us to be, there too. For us to communicate and learn how to make sure our kids is doing what they need to be doing at school as well. And really, if you're going to merge or close all these schools, y'all already don't have that many teachers that don't really want to do much because they ain't getting the validation that they need, and so they're quitting. Like, what are you going to do when they quit? Is when you merge these schools, all these teachers leave, you're going to have all these kids, what's the point? Leave them where they're at until you have a full solution of what you're going to do. And you're talking about budgeting and money this and money that. If you're going to close these schools, the money should go into the schools that you're going to merge, like more programs, more meal plans for these kids. Because half the time, well, really, to be honest, I'm out of work right now. I take care of my little one, and their dad is the head of the household. So when they come home, they tell me about their day at school. That's what I love, to hear, hey, Mom, we had a good day at school. We had fun, and I love the kids there and the environment. That's what I love, to hear them speak about a school. You got all these parents saying that they love the school they're at. Keep their schools open. And if you're going to close them, make sure all the money that you're supposed to be saving go to something else. And if you're going to close these schools, open up a community center. Keep these kids intact of education. Keep them out the streets. Keep them from stealing, robbing, everything else. If you're going to close schools, have a plan what you're going to do with them in their community. Because I would love to see community centers that help my children with tutoring and everything else, especially if you're going to have all these teachers out of jobs. At least put them in the community centers and help our kids. Because, I mean, hey, they ain't going to be at school. They're going to be robbing, killing, and stealing. You want them to do that? Because I don't. I want them to be able to be in a safe place. If they're not in my home, I want them to go to someone I know that's going to take care of my kids. That's important as well, including meal plans, because my children be starved. I don't know what y'all doing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to apologize ahead because I don't think I'm going to get this name quite right. Vinio Richmond.
Hello, my name is Venus Richmond.
Oh,
I have been.
sorry about that.
It's all fine. Let's see. I worked at UMS for 20 plus years, and I worked in administration. Then I decided I didn't want to do the corporate thing anymore, so I went to work with children. So I've been a parapro. I was subbed for 3 years. Fell in love with Carver. Found Carver. I mean, I subbed all around LRSD. Found Carver. Kind of begged this man to hire me. I ain't gonna lie, I wouldn't leave. I only put 2 people on my thing. It was 2 schools on my record, and one of them was Carver. And anytime Carver called me, I went there. I got 2 children. One's 4, one's 6. If this plan goes through, one goes to Rockefeller, and one's gonna be at Carver, hopefully. Now what I'm gonna do, I work from 6:30 in the morning till 5:30 in the afternoon. I went from probably a $40,000 salary to being capped at $25K. I work more hours than most people I know, but still I'm being asked to suck up time, suck up the COVID time. My kid was out for 10 days for COVID. What am I supposed to do with childcare? We have care. My kid goes to care after school because I work the after school program at Carver. How am I supposed to do transportation if one of my kids is over there? He's 4. And then my other kid is at this school, she's 6. Where's that leave us? Not to mention, these kids over the last 2 years, they're struggling. They're struggling so bad socially. We academics, we trying to get that in them, but socially, they need hugs. They need somebody to listen. They need time. And you're asking them to merge these kids together when we're finally figuring out the little ticks and the little things that make this kid okay. You know, maybe this one needs a corner, needs to go away for a minute, needs a little 15-minute break. The stuff we know about their families and their histories and stuff, you're gonna take that and you're gonna merge it, and it's gonna waste so much time these kids don't have. They don't have this time. They're growing up now, and you're gonna separate them from the people that care about them, that love them. It's just wrong over money. It's just ridiculous.
Thank you. Sequoia Randall. Sequoia Randall. All right, that was our last person who had signed up to speak.
I signed up to speak.
Okay, then let's go ahead and take it. And if you'll give us your name, ma'am.
My name is Alexis Ankney from Baseline Academy.
Okay, thank you.
I wrote this on my phone sitting in the audience. I didn't think this through all the way, so bear with me. First of all, thank you for, first of all, allowing me to even come up here when I thought I signed up, but thank you for allowing me to come up here anyway. I was lucky enough to begin my teaching career in the Little Rock School District, and even luckier to land myself at Baseline Academy. I've been there for this last calendar year. Now, while I don't have a ton to say, as I feel most concerns have been addressed, probably more articulate than myself, I want to draw more attention to where our concerns should really be, which is our baseline students, families, and our community. My greatest fear with this proposal is the struggle these families will face if baseline families and students were to be relocated, especially twice in the next 2 years. Most of my students have been at our school since they were in kindergarten, and moving would cause a ton of discomfort when our school is a safe place for them. Sadly, some of them, it's the only safe place that they have. I would hate for that to be taken away because we are about 30 students or less away from the 300 magic number of enrollment, not to mention making money sense. Being also a member of the Chico elementary staff, I fear that our students at Baseline and many of these other smaller schools that are here today, I feel that our students, if they were moved to a population of students like Chico, which is around 700 or 800 students, they would simply be lost and their emotional needs would not be met. We have also at Baseline a much higher percentage of English language learners, sitting last time I checked at about 55%. I fear that their needs would not be met either, and they would be expected to just keep up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Nichols. I'm coming on behalf of the community, the small schools, as you say, particularly Western Hills. There is value in a principal knowing every child's name. There is value in them knowing, as someone said earlier, what car they belong to, what parent they belong to. There is value in stability. When you think about a home, when the foundation begins to shift, you start to have issues. The elementary schools are the foundation of education. And when you have shifts, as we're having, you begin to have issues. Franklin Elementary closed, there was a shift. Henderson Middle School closed. That's a shift that parents and students are still adjusting to. And I just named those as a couple because I attended those schools when I was school age. It's important for students, for parents, for teachers to have stability. So hopefully we come to you this evening not just as a sounding board, but as an action board. So please listen to us when we say, put the kids first. We understand that there's a financial impact, but this is a community impact. Thank you for your time.
If I could have the opportunity, and I'll make it really quickly. First of all, I'd like to, and I'm Tara Shepard, former board member with the Little Rock School District. I'd like to say to Allie, to Norma, to Greg, I understand the position you're in tonight, and that you have to sit there and not really be able to give any feedback while the audience just say what they have to say, so I understand. Superintendent Poore, I understand the position that you're in and the decisions that have to be made for Little Rock School District. But what I want also to say to the board is, remember your power in the vote. It's too much disruption that's happening in the Little Rock School District at this moment. There have been extremely too many schools being closed down in black neighborhoods, and we all know that to be true. We're in a pandemic that's going on right now. The teacher morale is low, And I think we also need to take into consideration while we were all sitting here tonight, the email came out that we're in a search of a superintendent. So think about that. We're closing schools, we're in a pandemic, the teacher morale is low, and the superintendent is on his way out. And now we want to close more schools. So I just want to leave it with that. I didn't want to walk out and interrupt. But remember, Allie, Norma, Vicky, Greg, you all can control this. Thank you.
We want to thank you again for coming out tonight, taking your time and speaking so expressively and sincerely and passionately and clearly about your concerns. I don't know how to say it to convince you, but I would tell you that I believe that everybody who will make these decisions also is working really hard to put students first and to think about student needs in the small picture and in the big picture. I don't know what those decisions will be, but your input is really appreciated and will help us come to a better decision. So thank you for that. Please know that you're invited also to make comments on the 24th. Please know that there's a place on the website that you can make more comments if you want. We will see those. Those will also be public. And our contact information for all of our school members who are here and who were not able to come tonight is publicly available on the website, and you're invited to contact us for that too. If there's anything that we have missed or wasn't said tonight or questioned that you don't think has been addressed. So thank you for all of that. Mr. Poor board members, have I forgotten anything?
Well, I just want to say thank you all for being here. And, you know, it's taken us 2 hours to get through the comments. There's a reason we had to just go ahead and hear everyone. You know, if we had done back and forth on each comment, we would still be going for the next 5 hours after this. So, but that said, you know, you're here, I'm here. We're going to wrap up. But as we're leaving, if you want to come talk to me or any of the board members, you know, we are happy to talk, you know, and have conversations about this back and forth as we're leaving.
Thank you, Ms. Nolan. And the community meetings that did happen online the last few weeks did have a place that was especially for questions and answers. And so this was just a different meeting where we were here to listen. And you have done your job. We have tried to do our part tonight, and we'll wish you the best for the night. Be safe and for the rest of the week.